Welcome back to the FloTrack podcast. I'm Kevin Sully, joined by Lincoln Shrike, and on today's episode, we have a special guest, two-time world champion and owner of the second fastest time in history in the 400-meter hurdles. He also owns what I think is the best pre-race intro in track and field right now. It's Karsten Warholm. Karsten, thank you for coming on. How are you doing?
It's nice to be so much. I'm doing good. Just some off-season training, if you want to call it that. So yeah, I'm good. Life is smiling, and you guys are good as well.
We are doing great, and of course, we appreciate the fact that you gave us so much to talk about in an unconventional season where there weren't many meets, and certainly the meets were much different than we thought. Now that you've had a little bit of time to reflect on the year, what did you think of your 2020 season?
I'm actually very happy about that. It was a very special year because it started with me and my coach deciding to do a documentary film. Um, and just after that, I got injured. I got a stress reaction in my right leg. And then it was like getting myself up and running till the Impossible Games, and yeah, and then we realized there are going to be more meets, and I got a place. I got a 400-meter hurdles going in Monaco with the meet organizers there, and yeah, it just got better and better. So I'm really happy that I even got a season, and I'm also really happy that I could actually have some progress this year as well. Now I have PB'd I think so. So it's cool to have that documented and to that gives me some bragging rights, I think.
When did you get that stress reaction, and how long did it take for you to bounce back and fully heal from that?
Oof. I got it. When did I get it? I think it was in April, but I don't remember the exact date. But yeah, it sucked. And it was really difficult because you can't put a lot of weight on it. So I was running, these curved treadmills. I was running on that, and I was just like hanging to release weight, and I was just like keeping my legs moving. So I did that for a couple of weeks, and after a while, I was able to put on. Yeah, after 6 weeks, I got on spikes again, and I was actually really fast because I trained very hard. So when I couldn't train that hard, I got a lot of energy. So it actually gave a lot to my pace. So yeah, it was a very stressful situation, but I feel like we managed to handle it pretty good. So, and the season shows that as well. So yeah, it was tough, but shit happens.
That's absolutely true, as 2020 has shown. I feel like I don't
Yeah.
remember the exact date, but in April, that seems about the time when the Olympic Games in Tokyo got postponed. Combined with getting that injury, I feel like a lot of athletes would say, "Okay, the big meet got canceled. I've got an injury. Let's just look towards 2021." Why
Mm.
were you so focused on competing in 2020 when maybe the incentive to get out there wasn't as high as it would have been otherwise?
So the thinking, I'm not that good in mathematics, but I was thinking, okay, if you're really really lucky as an athlete, you get 10 years at a high level. Not many people get 10 years on a high level, but if you do, 1 year is 10% of your career. And I don't want to waste 10% of my career. I want to compete as much as I can when 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 I have the chance. So that was the reason why, I wanted to get back to competing as fast as I can. And for me, it's like the most important thing is to compete. It's like whatever you do in training doesn't matter as long as you don't get results. And I wanted to show that I was on a high level and get some results. And also, I think it was important for track and field to be back and to show ourselves just as the other sports did. And it was important to show that it is possible to arrange these meets, even though we live in the world now with the coronavirus and everything. So hopefully, they see that this is possible, and it also gives us a chance, to have a Olympics next year.
You took up the opportunity to compete a lot this year, and you carried the event. In some instances, you carried the entire meet. They were built around you going for that world record. But some of your rivals, or both of your rivals, your main rivals in the 400-meter hurdles, didn't compete this year, Benjamin and Samba. Were you
Yeah.
disappointed at all that you didn't get to race those two guys in what you're saying is a 10% of your career?
Now, to be fair, I think like probably they got more shut down by the coronavirus than I got. We in Norway I had 2 weeks where I had to be creative about where to train, and otherwise I got to train the same places that I used to. So I got a lot of training in, and I don't know how their situation was, but maybe they were. I know that America had a long lockdown, and I don't know about Samba, but they probably didn't have the same chance to prepare as I did. Um, so, yes, I miss them, because I love to race against the best and I want to race against the best. So, yeah, I wanted them to be there, but I have I understand that they chose to do otherwise as well. So I respect that.
How much could having Samba or Benjamin in a race push you to a faster time? We always talk about the marathon, and obviously it helps to have people around you, or the 1500, or even the 100 or the 200. But the hurdles is a different beast, a different animal. There's a lot more to think about. How much does competition in the 400-meter hurdles help for you?
I think it always helps to have somebody there to push you. And that is not only for me. I think it helps both Rye and Samba as well to have me in the next lane as well to push them. We push each other, and I think the reason why the 400-meter hurdles is at such a high level now, probably one of the higher ranked events, right? Because of the level that we perform, is because we push each other, and nobody has the time to rest because there is someone chasing you all the time, and I like that. So of course it is a factor, but at the same time, I felt like I feel like I'm pretty good to hype myself and to get ready for a race because it means so much to me. I have such a huge passion for what I do, so my motivation is there. But of course I miss to have my greatest opponents, and I think also the fans miss that, because that is the greatest thing about track and field. That is when people go head to head, and you don't know who is going to win. It's that's probably one of the coolest thing about our sport.
When you opened in Monaco in August in 47:10, in the back of your mind, did you think I'm going to break the world record later this season after you opened so quickly?
No, not at all. I was in good shape at the moment, and I've done well in training, but had almost forgot how to run, the 400-meter hurdles in competition because it was almost 1 year since my last competition in 400-meter hurdles when I ran the finals in Doha. So it was special, as you could see, I opened very slow compared to what I usually do, and it was a weird feeling. But after I ran 47:10 in Monaco with that slow opening, I felt like, wow, this could really be something, and I got a good race in Stockholm 1.5 week after, so almost close but no cigar.
And in Stockholm, the attention was on the time and the fact that you hit that hurdle. And then it was also mentioned, well, Kevin Young hit a hurdle when he broke the record. So
Yeah.
I guess there's some debate. Did that slow you down and prevent you from breaking the record, or were you going to miss that regardless?
It's hard to tell, it's impossible, but in that race I didn't break the record, and that is the facts. So for me it's like, to break the world record, which is a great record, you got to have a perfect race, and I didn't have a perfect race, so therefore I didn't get get the world record as well. But it was actually a kind of messy race for my part, so I feel like it was of course the best race of my year, but there was a lot of things there to improve, and I felt like if you compare it to Berlin, which I felt like it was a perfect race, but it was slower, and that is, the weird thing about my event. It's the races where I do the most trouble. It's my fastest races. So I never understand my own event. It's weird. It's a fucked up game.
Was
Definitely.
Berlin the one where you crossed the finish line and you looked at the clock and you were angry at the clock? It looked like, or confused
No, it
at
was
the
in
I
time.
think that was Ostrava.
it was in Ostrava, yeah. Um, that was because at that time I was really closed in on chasing the world record, and I think also last year after Zurich everybody was talking about the world record, and now after Stockholm everybody was talking about the world record, and I was starting to think about it as well. And when you do that, you start to run differently, and that is the art. You shouldn't be doing that. You should just be running the way that you've trained for. And I got more and more into that rhythm both in Berlin and Rome, but suddenly the season was over, so I didn't have any more meets.
Where do you think 2021 will pick up, assuming we get a regular season again? So Abderrahman, Samba will be back, Rye Benjamin will be back. Will it pick up where you guys left off in 2019? Do you think it might be take a little while to get going? What do you anticipate about the Olympic year if it does take place the way we hope it will?
um, Americans especially, they're always in great shape when the Olympic year comes. So I think this year will be no different. And also Samba, a great talent. These guys are excellent runners, and I'm prepared that they will be at a very high level. And it's like I just got to do my thing, and hopefully I will be able to to be somewhere close to their level. But when it comes to those guys, I try to be humble because they are really talented and they are great runners. So I just gotta try to keep up with them.
When you
I'm just
look
putting
at,
some pressure on them right now.
yeah,
Yeah.
the whole that's good. I mean, it makes the event more interesting for sure. Obviously, us being Americans, we think a lot about Rye Benjamin, and we can get fascinated with his raw foot speed, his flat foot speed. He ran about 10 seconds in the 100 this year.
Mhm.
Why do you think, though, you've been able to have the edge thus far in the matchups between him and you? You have obviously great 400-meter foot speed as well, but it seems like if it was just a flat 200-meter race, he would have the advantage, and therefore it would be closer at this point. But it hasn't yet been that. Why do you think you still have an edge on Benjamin?
Um, I wouldn't say that I've ever had an edge on Benjamin because um, he just went pro, and we've only raced together 2 times, so it's nothing. Um, and he is very fast. He's really good. So for me, I don't feel like it's in anybody's favor. I think it's going to be really, really exciting, and I look at him as my equal.
Switching gears a little bit, talking about track and field in Norway, there's two groups of athletes that are of big focus internationally. It's just you and one group, and then the entire Ingebrigtsen family. Do you have a gauge on who is more famous in Norway? Is it you, or is it possibly Jakob or the whole Ingebrigtsen family?
Uh,
What's the hierarchy there?
oh, oh. This is a tricky path. Um, you know, I um, I think both me and Jacob, especially, share a spotlight for track and field in Norway right now. Um, they are of course three persons and all that, but right now Jacob is at a really, really, really high level, and so am I. So I think we together have created a really great momentum, that also keeps, Norwegian track and field pushing, but, it also, you also created a footprint in international track and field. But who is more famous? It's hard to tell. They've had their TV show going for 3 years, so yeah, I would probably say maybe Jacob, but I'm trying to keep up.
Do you watch their show?
Um, yeah, I watched some of it actually, and it's funny. I'm a huge fan of sports, and I love to watch how people work, and it's especially fascinating to see how many ways there are to perform. There's not one way. Everybody got to find their own way. So I watch a lot of sport documentaries, and I love to watch how people work and how their mentality is towards their performances.
How popular is track in Norway? Can you walk down the street and be at peace, or will someone recognize you right away?
Um, you know, it if you go only 4 or 5 years back, people weren't that interested. But in the last few years, with high performances, it's people are more and more interested. So right now, I get a lot of attention, and people recognize me. So especially when I walk with my coach, actually, because he has this very characteristic look. So whenever I'm with him, people recognize me. But and a lot of other times. But I think it's fun. I think it's positive. Everybody has, just nice words to bring to me, and people love to watch us. So it's been very popular in Norway the last years, and it's one of the most watched sporting events, or probably the most watched sport right now.
Mhm. Well, I think part of that is just the aura that you have, the presence when you're on a track. We have seen that going back a couple of years, but I think it stood out even more this year because even in front of an empty stadium, Karsten, you're still slapping your face and screaming and getting fired up before you go. Where did that start, and why do you do that before every race?
It's actually fascinating because this thing started at an empty stadium. I train with only girls. One of my training buddies, Emily, she was running 400 hurdles at USC with Rye Benjamin actually a couple of years back, and now moved back to Oslo. So um, I got to push myself at practice, and it's always me versus the stopwatch. So
Mhm.
I fired up at practice, and always all in. So that's when it started at practice. Me just slapping my face and yelling and getting the adrenaline pumping. And when I look at it on screen, I get a bit embarrassed, but it gives results, so it's worth it, I think.
Have you ever slapped yourself too hard?
One time at practice when I had this test race, I slapped my chest. Really, just like I felt my heart was losing rhythm. I was like, now I'm really gonna die. But if you're gonna die, do something that you love. So I was out with full pace.
Are are you as high energy off the track as you are when you're about to compete? Like, are you an excited person all the time?
Absolutely not. So I think I have my switch is very good. I can be very relaxed and I can be very energetic, but I have to step back and relax a bit. So I watch a lot of TV, I build a lot of Legos, and just spending time with myself so that I have the energy when I go to the track to train or to perform.
You said
I leave all
Legos.
my energy on the track. Yeah, I
Yeah.
build Legos,
Hmm.
a lot of
You and my
them.
son would get along real well. He's
I
5,
think so.
but
Yeah,
Legos are cool. I like Legos. I
yeah,
like
but
Legos.
but I'm 5 as well in my head. So all my prize money I use on Legos.
Oh,
That's
wow.
smart investment. Smart investment.
I think so
I
too. Yeah.
Thinking back to your world title in London, your first one, you put on the Viking helmet, and maybe you did in 2019. I missed it. I have to ask, how many Viking the Viking with the horn helmets do you own, if you own any?
So I gave one to my coach and one we donated for charity. We actually raised a lot of money on that helmet. Actually, that was the helmet from London 2017. So I gave away all my helmets, so I don't have any.
Oh,
All I got was this cap.
where do you keep your medals?
It's in my hometown, in the western part of Norway. I live in Oslo, so my family they built me a room for my medals. So when I go back home, I can look at them. But otherwise, in my apartment, it's no medals because I wanna still be hungry. So I just tend to pretend that I don't have anything. So I gotta go out and get me more.
What's motivating you more now? Is it another gold medal to add to your collection, or is it the world record?
My main motivation is actually to be even better. We always think about development and to be even better, and that is actually the focus that we've had ever since I started training with Life. We've always talked about becoming better. And this year, with the coronavirus, it's been even better because it's not been about medals this year. It's been about proving yourself to yourself. Um, and that will still be my motivation. And I remember back when I got beaten by both Rye and Samba in 2018. It was actually my best year given the development. I ran
Mhm.
48:22 in 2017, and I ran 47:64 in 2018, but still got beaten. So every year I try to become just a little bit better, and that is always my goal.
What's the next thing you need to work on to get better? Because from the outside perspective, you run so aggressively. There's very few errors that we can see. That's why the stumble on the last hurdle stood out so much, is because we just don't see
Mm.
you do that very much. Where can you pick up a little bit of time?
So I believe in consistency. I think I think that is probably the key to any performance, and actually that uh, I learned that from my coach, but I can also see that in middle distance, a lot of you know they like to go for a jog, for example. They always train their engine. I think that counts for everyone, and for me, it's like to get another year with high quality training is what I need, and build brick by brick. That is what I believe in. But I worked a lot on my fitness level.
Mhm.
As you can see, I'm a better finisher now than I was just 1 or 2 years ago, and I try to become even better at everything. And in my event, it's the balance between high fitness level and speed, and that is probably the most difficult balance to keep, I think.
What are you thinking about when the gun is raised right before a race? Are you thinking, I need to have this many steps between this hurdle, or are you able to clear your mind? Because the 400 hurdles is so technical, it would seem that it could be tempting to really be like honed in on technique before the gun.
Um, I feel like I've done everything that I can in practice, so now it's just to perform. So I don't think a lot about the technical things. It's more like I'm thinking now is my time to show everything that I worked for, and everything is autopilot when you train for it. It's in you. So I just I just tend to get fired up and tell myself that, it's just 40 plus seconds of pain and you can handle it. So let's go.
How fast do you
And
think is
sometimes
possible?
sometimes you hit a hurdle, and that is,
Yeah, it happened.
that happens. That happens. But I'm sorry,
Do you have a
Alex.
number? Do you, do you have a number in mind that's possible in the 400 hurdles? Like when the three of you, when Samba, Benjamin, and Warholm are done with their careers, like you said, maybe a decade from now, how fast do you think the world record will be?
Oh, it's hard to tell. It can be anything from 46 low to 46.78. You never know. I remember
Mhm.
actually some years ago when they was talking about, you know, say the world record in high jump, but it's still the same. Everything can
Yeah.
happen. It's it's in our sport, everything can happen. You have injuries, you have, all things can happen. So I just wanna. That's why I'm in it. I'm in this game to see how good can I be and how good can the other people around me be, because that is what we try to find out, and that is the interesting about sport. How far can we push the limits?
Mhm.
So I
Speaking
don't.
of
I don't
speaking
want
of
to. I don't want
records,
to try to guess.
Yeah,
yeah. Well,
that's fine.
so the women, the women's 400 hurdles, had the record broken twice last year, and it's a very competitive back and forth between Sydney McLaughlin and
Yeah.
Dalilah Muhammad. What are your thoughts on that? Have you had a chance at some of these meets to watch those two go at it?
Mm, I watched the final in Doha, which was coolest race to watch. And I watched a lot of the races, you know, on YouTube and whatever, because I watched a lot of track and field, um, and I love to see that, and to see those girls push the limits. And also I have my training mate, my training friend Emily. She runs the 400-meter hurdles as well for the women. So it's cool to see how they are pushing the boundaries, and also it's cool to see when these two best girls are almost on the same level. It's what I said. I love to watch the head to head and the duels. It's the most exciting thing.
A lot of people in track and field say the 400-meter hurdles is the hardest event in all of track and field. You competed in your junior days as a decathlete, so you have done all
Yeah.
the events. So your opinion really counts here. What is
Oh, thank
the
you.
what is the hardest event in track and field in your opinion?
Whew. Decathlon is super, super tough. I must say, it's
Good
really,
answer.
really tough. I remember in 2015, I did decathlon and 400-meter double in the European Junior Championships. That is the hardest thing I ever done, because I had to run the 400-meter final before the 400-meter in the decathlon, and it's the worst physical thing that I ever did. It was like torture, but it's hard to tell. The 400-meter hurdles is worse than the 400-meter, pain wise, because you run longer with the lactic acid. And the one event that I haven't tried, which I'm really eager to try once, is the 800-meter, because you probably run even longer with lactic acid. So after I've run the 800-meter, I'm ready to give you guys an answer. But right now, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, I would. I think over here in the States, we'd love to see you race Donovan Brazier. We would be thrilled to see that. Maybe you guys could meet over 600 meters or as like a test run.
Yeah, he would probably beat me now, but I would love to take on the challenge. Yes, I love the 600 meters. I've run that a lot when I was younger, and I think that actually could be, yeah, decent maybe.
Mm-hmm. In your when your decathlon career was coming to an end, was there a specific moment, a specific competition where you were like, I got to stop doing this. I can't do 10 events. I need to focus on one. Like what caused you to make that switch?
So every time I threw a discus, a javelin, or jumped pole vault, I was like, I'm so done with this because I was really, really bad. And for me, I won the World Youth Championships in octathlon, which was the youth event before. It was 8 events. So I didn't start to do discus or pole vault before I was like 18 years old, and that is way too late to start with those events. So I was really bad at them, and they just like ruined my decathlon. So after that, I was pretty much done, and my coach convinced me to do the 400-meter hurdles, and the rest is history.
I see why you like him as a coach. That was a good decision.
Yeah, I think it was absolutely. And coaches are really important, and I think it's very smart to listen to your coach sometimes, because sometimes these old fossils, they have some good knowledge to bring to the table.
Before we let you go, Eugene in 2014, was that the only time you've been to the United States?
Yes, actually, it is. I had a vacation in San Francisco and Los Angeles after that meet, but yeah, it's the only time I've been to the States. I loved Oregon. It was a really cool place.
Are you excited to go back for, I guess it would be now the 2022 World Championships, 8 years after
Oh,
your World Junior Championships?
oh yes, I am. And I watched the new stadium, and it's really cool. So I can't wait to run there. It's a great stadium, and I also remember it was a great atmosphere with really smart audience. They know their track and field in Oregon, so I can't wait to go back.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time, Karsten. We appreciate it. And as we said, thanks for giving us stuff to talk about in a otherwise pretty weird and slow year. It was a weekly highlight for us to check in on you and see what you're doing in the 400-meter hurdles. Have a restful off season and best of luck next year.
Thank you guys, and keep me good content to watch. I love it.